Well, I can honestly say after that, Backlash is in some serious trouble. NXT is back.
The wrong way round.
Yeah. So we just finished NXT Takeover Chicago, and we're going to give our thoughts on it. There's a lot of really crazy things going on right now. Now, granted, we have been thinking about the dissolving of DIY for a while now, but we thought that they would wait until they had a tag team that could go after their tag team champions. I know I've been saying Heavy Machinery. Welcome, Logan. That's probably the direction we're going now. But I guess you could say one thing to take from tonight's show. Hype is real. Welcome to another edition of the NXT Takeover Chicago Popcast, exclusively here on the Popcast Network. My name is Owen. Joining me, as always, is Ashley.
Mm-hmm.
Got a lot to talk about. Short time to get there. No, we're not trying to watch Old Bandit run here. We're going to talk NXT.
I think the quote of the night comes from midway through the event from Monsieur Dave.
Okay.
Shut the show down now. Nobody is touching that. We'll get to that in a minute. Yes,
we will. But first, let's go over the tapings real quick. So NXT did a NXT taping that ran before the show went live, and it's going to be airing this Wednesday on the network. Aleister Black, with his brand new his new merchandise. He has a new shirt, actually. He defeated Kurt Hawkins with a Black Mass. We saw the in-ring debut of the Velveteen Dream, Patrick Clark, and he defeated Robert Ego Anthony from the Chicago area. And Drew McIntyre gets the victory over Wesley Blake in the main event with the Claymore kick. So that's going to air this Wednesday. Logan says, wow, what a show. Sorry, Backlash. Yeah, I mean, this show started off hot in every definition of the word, and it just was unrelenting the entire night. They didn't really give the crowd a second to breathe.
Yeah.
No pre-show match, obviously, because the pre-show, as I learned WrestleMania weekend, was taped in advance, and then after they got everything out of the way, they ran the NXT matches. So a great video package about Chicago's championship history across all sports. So it basically ended with Bobby Roode comparing himself to the dynasty of the Chicago Bulls, and the fact that the Chicago Cubs' underdog story doesn't exist in his NXT. So that's how we kicked off the show.
Well, with respect, we also had the I'm trying to think the right terminology. The pre-show.
Yeah.
That's what it sounded like half the time. Not because the quality of the feed was bad. That was how much erring and stuttering Charlie was doing.
Charlie, Nigel, and your favorite, Peter Rosenberg.
Who the fuck is Peter Rosenberg?
Who knows? Some guy. So we get video packages on the pre-show for the United Kingdom Championship and the injury to Ember Moon and the women's three-way dance. And it basically ended with we had a Roddy video package, and then we ended the actual one with one on Hideo Itami.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was very well done, as always. Dear God. Let's get to the opening match.
Strong versus Eric Young.
I knew this match was going to be good.
This is going to be probably a solid match to guide us into the show. No, these guys decided to put the bar up quick.
It was all about stealing the show tonight. I don't think anybody went into the ring without thinking they were trying to steal the show from the previous match. And everything got a very long amount of time all the way up to the main event, which had 20 minutes. So, I mean, there was no short matches tonight. The match that ended the quickest was actually 12 and a half minutes for the women's three-way. Dance, get your head out of the gutter. So, let's talk about this match. One of the best things that kicks this match off, building to what we've been doing lately, because obviously Roddy gets attacked by Sanity, and he's like, you know what? I'm done with this. I want Sanity at TakeOver. So, like, okay, fine. Eric Young accepts the match. Eric Young comes out with Killian Dane and Alexander Wolf. And, of course, Roddy's nowhere to be found. Shock, surprise, Roddy comes from the crowd, which made perfect sense to me. He posts Killian Dane. He drops Alexander Wolf on the guardrail. And then he goes after Eric Young. And this match starts off hot. So many great things here. So Killian Dane ends up cutting off Roddy midway through the match with the Fall of Humanity on the outside. And that leaves Eric Young in control. He locks in the Hanging Dragon Sleeper. And he works him over a little bit. And then Roddy finally gets the shine with a drop kick and a high elbow. Roddy with the strikes. And he catches EY's kick into a backbreaker. Running knee in the corner. And Eric rolls to the outside and hits the Youngblood, the wheelbarrow neckbreaker on the floor, actually. Good stuff, really. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
So he rolls him back in the ring, gets a near fall. He goes up top. Roddy grabs the foot. Eric knocks him down, hits a superstar elbow. But Roddy kicks out. He sets the Youngblood again. Roddy with a roll-up. And he boots Killian Dane. Wolf gets on the ring apron. Eric Young gets sent into Wolf to knock him off the apron. He picks him up on the shoulders, and he gets the eye rake. I think he's going by death. He was going for death by Roderick, but of course he got raked.
The eye rake.
So yes, eye raked.
That isn't Bailey's move.
Oh boy. So I like this. They jockeyed for position. Yes. They jockeyed for position for a minute on a superplex attempt. Roddy falls off, hits a running knee strike, and I like this because Eric Young does an ST plunge and lands on Killian Dane and Alexander Wolf on the outside. Roddy sends him in. He gets caught with a boot. Eric Young tries to capitalize. He gets caught with a high knee strike, and Roddy wins with the end of Heartache. Phenomenal match. Great way to kick off the show. We've been talking a lot about Roderick Strong being pushed as a main eventer on NXT, and I think this is the start of it. The video packages they've been doing over the last several weeks makes perfect sense to build sympathy for his character and him as a person. And getting a win like this in his first singles match on TakeOver is a big step in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing the end of Heartache in a WWE ring made me happy. Honestly, it really did. As a commentator, it made me totally happy to see that. I did like Roddy went for the angle slam, actually, at one point, and Eric Young went to the eyes. I read things wrong with my write up here. But yeah, it was later on. It was earlier on in another match when he was basically picked him up on the shoulders. I wasn't going for death by Roderick. He was going for the ankle slam, which he's been using a lot lately. Great stuff. Welcome, Jeremy Mills. So, Ashley, we move on to the introduction of good old JR.
Pretty well received, which was good to hear. And then, well, I'm not trying to say that British wrestling needs to take over the world, but I think May the 20th will go down as the night when WWE Network people, watchers, whatever, realize, we actually got a match that's better than anything WWE's put on in the last 16 months.
Oh, yeah. This, quite possibly, could be the WWE match of the year.
I'd say on paper so far, it's hands down easily the winner so far.
This match, well, first off, the tournament final they had was absolutely outstanding. And they had a lot to follow up here. And this weekend, I know that the beginning of May was when the UK Championship special was taped, but this was a big weekend for them on television. British Strong Style had a very nice weekend on television this week. Want to talk about this match so bad, obviously. Realized during this match one thing that I'd never noticed before. Pete Dunne looks like Tim Roth. Have to bring that one up.
I didn't see it at first, but when you said it, it was like, actually, yeah, it does make sense.
A lot of chants. So Bruiserweight chants from the crowd. They're really into Dunne here. Makes sense. Obviously, it's Chicago. They're gonna cheer the heels in a lot of ways. And I think honestly, it's not necessarily cheering face or heel, Ashley. It's cheering good wrestling.
Yep.
Good catch as catch can start to the match. And then when Dunne goes all Marty Skrull, Tyler Bate basically covers it up and basically straight up slaps him in the face. He hits a European uppercut off the ring steps, and Dunne ends up catching him with a vicious forearm. And then he hits the Orange Crush on the ring apron. And when I say Orange Crush, obviously we're talking about his new age version of it, which basically is not with the sit out. We'll get to that later. Don't worry. Like I said, they're channeling their inner Misawa and Kabashi tonight. And I want to give big props later on in the show while I'm thinking about it. Percy Watson. Percy Watson brought up Kenta being under the tutelage of Kobayashi.
Oh.
Yes.
Which one?
the way he was talking, I wouldn't be surprised if he was referring to the competitive eater.
I'm betting you there's quite a few Kobayashis that work in Konami. I think.
Yes. But yes, and then kudos to Nigel for basically schooling him and bringing up Kenta Kobashi. Jeremy says, hello, United Kingdom, please take over wrestling.
At least you're learning, everybody.
Yes. I've been learning for quite a while now.
Chariots of Fire, what, 36 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
The British are coming. Little did you know, we actually just meant wrestling.
So I like this. We move on later on to Pete Dunne working the arm, and he starts kicking away at Tyler Bate. He's like glancing blows, but kicking him right in the head. And Bate just totally no-sells him and hits what is basically a delayed exploder suplex, which looked great. Several charging European uppercuts in the corner, and Dunne hits a running boot. Tyler escapes the Orange Crush once again, hits a standing shooting star press, and basically a deadlift Saito suplex, or pretty much a straight backdrop driver for a near fall. I will give 100% credit where credit is due, Ashley. I want to give mad props, without a doubt, to one man in this match. And you know where I'm going with this. This man's name is Daryl. This name is Daryl Sharma. He was the referee of this match. I think this guy was phenomenal. And why do I think that? I didn't even realize. I know who Daryl Sharma is. He's Hornet, who I know from the O Show and Canadian independent wrestling in the 2000s. So more O Show connections on this show.
God damn it, these guys.
Always go with the O Show, man. Like constantly. It always goes back to Big Daddy and Danny O, regardless what happens. Big Daddy, Donnie, and Danny O, it always comes back to them. And that's the reason why we use the term locker room radio here on this network. That, in fact, that Ashley can't stop cursing. That's another story for a different time. So here, then we kick it into high gear. Tyler goes for another standing shooting star press, and he gets transitioned right into a triangle. Bate power bombs his way out. Hits an airplane spin that basically could be described as on fast forward. Near fall off of that. They get up to their feet. Bate goes for the German again, and Dunne lands on his feet. And Bate springboards going for the 180 flying body press. Gets caught with a stiff elbow. A forearm. And then, of course, he hits a true Orange Crush for a very near 2.999999. Fire Pro would be totally proud of this kick out. Crowd's going nuts, chanting UK. So they're fighting on their knees. They're fighting on the seated position. They basically beat the daylights out of each other. And Bate hits the big left hand. He goes all southpaw here. And he sets up the Tyler driver. And, of course, Dunne gets out of it, hits an enziguri kick. Then they start throwing chops. And then Dunne with a straight palm strike, and it leads to the rolling capo kick. Bate bounces off the ropes, gets caught with a lariat for a near fall. We get a double down into a fight forever chant. Dunne gets out of the Tyler driver once again, sets up the bitter end, and Bate counters into a swing DDT. Dunne rolls to the outside, and Bate basically hits a triangle moonsault, but off the middle rope instead of the top rope. Actually, it would be a triangle moonsault, pretty much. He rolls Dunne back in the ring. He hits the spiral tap.
Yep, that happened.
Yeah, this was great. So Bate ends up setting up for a suicide dive of sorts that never really got what he was going for. Look, he was somewhat setting up for a tope con hilo, but I'm not positive. But he gets the elbow right in the jaw, and that's the end. Done the party indeed. Pete Dunne hits the bitter end, and we got a brand new United Kingdom champion. This match, my God, I will say right now, this was the point in the show when it was like, okay, we're going to try to be better than the match before us. That was the match before us. We might as well stop the show. But to the credit of the locker room, they continued to persevere, and they kept up the heat for the entire show.
Mm-hmm.
So we move on to our three-way for the NXT Women's Championship. Asuka defending against Nikki Cross and Ruby Riott. I said it once, I'll say it a billion times. I like Nikki Glenn Cross, I really do. But I'll tell you right now, this crazy Rosemary-esque character she's playing now, Insanity, I really wish this could have been Crazy Mary Dobson instead. And I'm always going to say that. Because number one, I'm biased. And number two, she fits better Insanity. I'm still glad she's in the company, though. She's doing like a country gimmick now on the house shows. So, I mean, that works. I guess. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. This match it was all right. Decent stuff. A lot of crowd really getting into Ruby Riott. I'm going to guess Heidi Lovelace did a lot of work in Chicago.
I mean, this is another thing that happened in the pre-show. They basically had bloody Ember there,
mm-hmm.
and they were saying, "Right, who do you want to face?" And she's just like, "I don't care, because whoever it is, I'm going to be going after them." And it's like I was interested. I was expecting further questioning, but from what I remember, the only time she got to reply, she basically said the same answer to either Nigel or Peter. And then to the other one, got cut off by Charlie saying, "We've got to go to adverts." It's like, so why is she there?
I have no idea. This match was fine. It really did its work to bring the crowd down a little bit. I guess the only thing you can say. So it was basically all three women fighting at one point, basically to try to win the championship. Basically, it was a 2-on-1 on Asuka for quite a while. But basically, then it degenerated. I won't say how many times I can say basically in a sentence. So ankle lock, and Nikki tries to make her break the hold, but she gets taken down. Asuka gets rolled up by Ruby. Nikki hits a forearm. Asuka gets into the outside. So Ruby goes for the diving Rana. Oh, the Heidi Rana, I believe is what it's called.
Normally, yeah.
Right. So she sends Nikki into the buckle, and Asuka gets into the outside. She dives out, catches a knee strike, and then Ruby hits the low tope suicida from the middle and bottom. And then Ruby hits Nikki Cross with a huge senton off the top. Asuka breaks it up. Straight jacket German for a near fall, and they fought back and forth. Asuka with the deadlift Germans. I like this spot right here. She went off with the senton one more time. Asuka locks her in the Asuka lock. Nikki ends up hitting a splash to break the hold, and ends up hitting a falling inverted DDT on the ring apron on Ruby Riott. Asuka goes for a baseball slide, gets trapped up in the ring apron, and this fits Nikki very well with her sadistic, crazy side. And she starts pounding away with strikes. And then she gets Asuka in the ring, picks her up, hits the Golden Gate spin, and Ruby breaks up the pin. Triple down here, and they clothesline Asuka over the top of the floor. Nikki with a quick roll up. Ruby kicks out, and then she pretty much gets caught with a knee strike. Ruby hits a Pele. Asuka hits a sliding knee strike and pins both women at the same time to retain the championship. I mean, it shows Asuka's dominance, but I would be remiss if I didn't bring up the fact that I think it kind of made both Nikki Cross and Ruby Riott look a little bit bad, given the fact that she pinned them without pretty much anything. She hit a sliding knee strike and she pinned both women at the same time. I question that finish, to be honest, other than the fact that I know it was done to show Asuka's dominance. Doesn't much do anything for a setup for a rematch for either women down the line.
But it leaves it open for obviously the Ember Moon thing, but in terms of anybody else, it's like, I don't know.
I mean, you already have a smaller women's division at this moment. Obviously, it's about to really heat up. But I mean, with the thing about it, everybody's not here yet, and the women's tournament is still 2 months away. So you really have to build challengers to Asuka in the meantime. And you said this offline, and I'm going to give you credit for it. When it comes down to it, at this point, Asuka could possibly lose for the first time in the women's championship tournament.
But obviously not with the belt on the line.
Yes.
We start to bring in New Japan booking. We do tournament. And it's like, well, that person lost and they're champion. And it's like, I'd like to trade in, please.
Understandable. So we build to our the debut of Patrick Clark, the Velveteen Dream, which of course I talked about is working with Robert Anthony on NXT this week. Then we get our not our main event, because the NXT Championship is your semi-main event. Hideo Itami getting the shot against Bobby Roode in the NXT Championship. Itami wearing his Kenta gear again. Roode comes out with a very interesting intro, which kind of reminded me of the walking piano from Tom Hanks and Big, or a really interesting version of like Piano Hero or Keyboard Hero. I don't know if that exists, but that's what it looked like.
There is a program that is like that, and I can't think what it is off the top of my head in terms of the name.
But you see where I'm coming from completely.
Yeah.
So this match goes, I mean, it's very interesting. Like the placement of this match, like the pacing, it was one of those things that just kind of had a lull in the beginning, and then they lost the crowd midway through. But they picked it back up and they delivered strong. We'll get to that. Hideo goes for the go to sleep early. Bobby powders to the outside. So they work for quite a while, and Roode hits the flying guillotine. I like that. I like the flying guillotine, obviously. Hideo starts his numerous times of just straight slapping Bobby Roode right in the face. Round kicks. Hits the hesitation drop kick. Goes up top, flying clothesline. Round kicks. And he hits his tornado hot shot for a near fall. He goes for go to sleep. Roode elbows out of it. And he gets sent shoulder first in the ring post. And that's where we start the selling. And I honestly think it's a great sell job from Bobby Roode, or he legitimately tweaked his elbow when he hit that post, because he hit that post very hard. And he sold that arm the rest of the match.
Yeah. It did go on for that long.
So it is possible that it's a work. Most likely it is, but it's a very slight possibility that it's not. And like pulled a shoulder out of sorts, or his elbow out of joint or something like that, because he was favoring it the whole match, and it was a lot more than just selling. So I guess we'll see what happens. But it was a good story. If it was, since it most likely is a work, it was a good storyline to basically sell the fact that Hideo had his knee worked on and Rude had his shoulder worked on. So it was a good way to believably take people out of potential moves in the match. So he sets it up again. Tommy gets a very loose Fujiwara armbar. Bobby gets out of it, and he sets up the glorious DDT, backs him into the corner. Several round kicks. Rude goes for guillotine again, but of course, Hideo out of the way. Hideo does the deal. Yeah, he did. He did the deal. Gets a near fall for it.
All the deals.
All the deals. Round kicks. He charges in and double R spine buster for a near fall. Rude goes for glorious DDT again. Gets countered in the go to sleep. Countered again, and he hits a neck snap across the ring apron. Really? Hits a neck snap on the top rope. Throws Tommy into the guardrail. Gets countered. He gets thrown into the steps, elbow first, of course. So he's working on the shoulder. Tommy goes for the hesitation drop kick into the ring steps. Rude gets out of the way. They basically beat the count at the last minute, so they fight back up when they get in the ring. This finally allows the hesitation drop kick to connect, and of course, this is the point. He's selling the leg because when he went for the drop kick, he collided with steel steps, so he's got to sell. He goes for go to sleep, but he can't capitalize. Rude hits the glorious DDT. Tommy kicks out. Bobby Roode gets caught. Go to sleep, and great ring positioning. The veteran that he is completely rolled to the outside, and that stopped any pin attempt that Hideo Itami would have here. So then, Rude gets tossed back in the ring. He gets 2 count off of it. He sets up go to sleep. Rude gets out of it. They trade pinfall counters. Tommy counters the glorious DDT one more time, and then legitimately slaps the taste out of Bobby Roode's mouth over and over again, about 8 times in succession, so much so that there's a possibility we could have possibly seen a tooth fly out at this point, or it could have been gum. Could work either way. Go to sleep has escaped one last time, hits the glorious DDT, rolls with it, hits it one more time, drapes the arm over, 1, 2, 3, and Bobby Roode retains the NXT Championship in your semi-main event. I mean, if you want to judge it for a full match, maybe not as good as it could have been, but pieces of this match actually made it work in the end. Like, they lost the crowd, lost the crowd midway through, but they got him back.
Overall, started somewhat weak, but then built to a pretty strong finish.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing he didn't bust out in this match was the Busaiku knee, and I honestly thought he was going to go for it at one point. But then we get an interesting crowd shot, and I really wish I could say different things, but I can't, so we'll go with this. So the crowd shot shows Kevin Owens, and he is sitting there watching the show from ringside with a baseball player by the name of Eric Thames, I think, one of the Milwaukee Brewers.
Yes. And
then we see a shot that would be incredible. I'd love to hear this. This would be a ride-along I would be down with. Chris Hero, Pat Patterson, and Sami Zayn.
Yep.
So we get our main event. So it's Toka and Razor defending against DIY with tag belts on the line in the ladder match. I don't like the Authors of Pain. I've said this numerous times because teams like Shane Taylor and Keith Lee, even though they're not together anymore, but teams like that exist. The Guerrillas of Destiny exist. I mean, they do this shtick so much better. Right now, I'm going to be that guy and say this. The reason what happened to Johnny Gargano happened tonight is because he did a tope through the ladder. You don't go underneath a ladder. That's bad luck.
Probably.
Typical ladder match here. Obviously, high spots. The authors went for stereo power bombs. DIY got on the ladder. They climb up, get knocked over. Ciampa clutches the knee, and they work him over. It's just a typical ladder match at this point. So the ladders are set up between the ring apron and the guardrail on the outside. So they want to set up the double power bomb. Ciampa gets free, saves Gargano. So they hit a knee strike and a super kick, and of course they laid out the Authors of Pain on the ladders. They climb up the ladders, big splashes off the ladders, and Ciampa ends up putting one through the ladder, and Gargano ends up finding that is the ladder. So they climb up again. They fight on the ladder. All four men fighting on singular ladders. So they have two set up in the ring, so all four men are fighting. Ciampa gets knocked off. He bumps in the other ladder. Razor falls off. Gargano lands on the ladder in the middle. Akam falls off. Gargano's alone. Here comes Paul Ellering doing a spot that I have personally done in a match before to try to pull Gargano off the ladder to save the tag belts for his team. And he ends up getting super kicked. I don't really remember Paul Ellering bumping very much. So that's a big deal.
It didn't happen often.
No, not at all.
It did, but
I know it did.
Certainly a rarity.
Very much so, and Gargano is kind of on that list now, which is kind of cool. So Akam boots him. Ciampa's left in the ring. He gets bashed on a ladder in the corner. They prop his head up and to hit him with a ladder. Gargano's like, no, I'm not going to do this. And he basically gets decapitated. Like, not literally, but he got hit in the forehead, something hard. So much so that I was worried that we may have like a Hardy's M&M situation on our hands. The way he got hit with that ladder. But luckily, he just had a ginormous bruise on his forehead. So Ciampa fights up. He goes for the German. And he ends up doing it. He German suplexes Razor off the ladder through the wooden ladder in the corner because it's a total wooden ladder because you can see the pieces of wood. Still cool, though. So at this point, they set up Akam. He's got the Terry Funk spot with the ladder around his neck, and he does the airplane spin, but he gets caught. And Meat in the Middle sends the ladder into his face. Ciampa tries to help Gargano up. He's basically on Dream Street at this point. And they set the ladder up. They climb up. They go to grab the titles. The Authors kick the ladder, and they're swinging like the Hardys. DIY hang on and AOP both underneath Gargano and Ciampa. They hit the power bomb, pick them up again, hit the super collider, and one more power bomb, and the Authors retain the NXT Tag Team Championships. If this would have ended here, I would not have been able to forecast why this was the main event. Other than what you said, maybe they didn't have faith in Itami, which is slightly possible. But
well, the fact that like on the conference call, it was like Triple H saying an ultimatum, like,
yeah, exactly. I heard that.
Do?
Like, if he doesn't deliver, then maybe we'll have to talk. I remember that, yeah. So,
Wolverine, possibly.
Oh, here we go. So, this continues. DIY getting a standing ovation. Kind of like what happened in time with other teams that are no longer on the NXT brand. So many of them. Ciampa hugs Gargano. They bomb out. They're posing. DIY chants reign throughout the building. We get the copyright sign. Second the copyright sign comes up, I'm thinking, nah, this ain't over. Ciampa grabs Gargano's head, slams him into, I guess what's television, I guess you would say. Like the LED boards, I guess the best way to put it.
Yeah.
And he starts beating the daylights out of him. Here comes officials. He's like, I'm done with this. He drops the knee pad, hits a running knee strike. And then he looks like he doesn't realize what the character realizes he doesn't realize what he's doing, but he knows exactly what he's doing at the time. The crowd's chanting a-hole, every single thing. They're calling him everything in the world. And Ciampa picks him up again. They get on the announce table. Ciampa hits the air raid crash onto 3 tables off the announce table. Dear God, Ashley the Psycho Killer is back.
Qu'est-ce que c'est?
Oh, man. This storyline with Ciampa and Gargano, even though I'm not going to lie, they really need them in the tag division. Now they've pulled the trigger on this. This feud is going to be incredible.
The weird thing is, considering all the situations and everything, you thought it might have been the other way around.
I mean, okay.
Surely if Ciampa's somewhat hurt, it makes sense for him to be the victim rather than the perpetrator.
Yeah, but, and you know just as well as I do, when it comes to good old-fashioned white meat babyface Johnny Wrestling versus the Psycho Killer Tommaso Ciampa, it wouldn't have made much sense in the long run to turn Ciampa, keep him face, and turn Gargano heel, because that made no sense in the long run. There's a sympathetic babyface in Johnny Gargano that we've used for quite a while, and I really think that it would be something they're going to capitalize on. And Tommaso Ciampa just looked like he wanted to just take everybody out tonight. I mean, right now the NXT Tag Division, the NXT Tag Division is in shambles. But if they're going to break up a team for any reason, the matches we're going to get out of this are going to make it worth it in the long run.
I mean, I'm surprised they actually went 2.5 hours for the 5, in all honesty.
Right.
Okay, we had a lot of video packages, but it's like, wow. I still say they booked the card the wrong way round.
Oh my God, yes. The order was definitely
the best
wrong.
matches at the start.
Yep.
And then, if it wasn't for the turn, I still am a little perplexed about putting DIY in the main event.
I mean, I see why they did it, because, like you said, they may not have had any faith in Hideo Itami. And you can't put Asuka in the main because, I mean, if it would have been the 4-way with Ember Moon, perhaps. They're not going to put the UK title match in the main, even though they know that it's going to most likely be the best match on the card. Roddy and Eric Young was added at the last minute, so it was kind of like the main event by default.
Sorry, I still can't get over the fact of how awesome the British title match was.
Oh, I know. I said last night on the UK Popcast that I was super excited to call this match. And when I watched it, I was thinking, I'm super excited to call this match. It was so well done in every way possible.
I'm intrigued to see what people say about it. I'm intrigued to see as well whether anything will come out of this in terms of any confirmation that more shows are happening sooner rather than later.
It would be nice.
Because I'm sorry, Impact, but you're not going to put that on World of Sport.
No.
Except the weird thing is, that was a style of match that would be perfect for World of Sport.
It was so good.
So
I mean,
ITV wants to do a deal with WWE.
I mean,
So
easily
we can
without.
actually have shows rather than on the network and actually on free TV rather than on a bloody subscription service.
I mean, honestly, I'll say right now, Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate was hands down match of the night.
Well, match of the year so far.
And it is totally WWE match of the year right now.
Match of 2016 and 2017 in WWE so far.
Yeah.
I go that far.
So we've got that. Roddy and Eric Young, for what they did, they really turned it on tonight, honestly. I mean, Tommy and Rude, by and large, was good, but it just, something was missing in the match. I think if you would have cut that middle portion and just went right to the straight fire from a Tommy, I think that it probably wouldn't have suffered. And they wouldn't have lost the crowd at all either. The women's triple threat was all right. I mean, nothing to write home about. I think Asuka killed the women's division for the time being because nobody can beat her. So that's the reason they're bringing people in to do just that.
Mm-hmm.
The tag match was just a normal ladder match. Not really many like, oh my god, we're gonna die spots. So I mean, that's fine. The match was basically just there to set up Ciampa's heel turn at the end. So I mean, it starts off really hot. It cooled off, and then they kind of had it back, and now it's like, okay, the match is over, but we got a really cool heel turn out of it. But yeah, the tag division is screwed right now. I mean, I have been saying that Heavy Machinery are going to be the ones that gets the shots at the Authors of Pain next. And I think that's being set up.
I mean,
It sounds
I'm just thinking, I'm guessing the next takeover is probably Brooklyn.
Yeah, totally.
I'd have thought, but we'll see. It's a shame it only has gone about 45 minutes or so, but it's probably best that we don't drag it on because you should just watch the show instead.
Yeah,
certainly the first hour. Certainly.
And according to Justin LeBar, actually, Ciampa may have a serious injury. Not necessarily a serious, but like a significant injury. So that's the reason why he's getting some time to rest up a bit. We'll find out more, I'm sure, soon.
So why didn't they have it the other way around?
I really don't know.
Because logically, if you think about it, having him do the stuff would make much more having him be the brunt of Gargano's betrayal would make more sense because he's out with an injury, he's out for a while, he's rehabbing, then here comes the vengeance and all that stuff.
Could have worked. Jeremy says, any true news on Vince's WWE future exposed?
What is this?
I'm honestly not sure what he's referring to.
Quick, let's have a look. See if there's anything in the update in terms of the news places. I mean, there's always been rumors around that he's going to eventually give up, but I
Right.
don't know.
I mean, I guess on that, like he said before, it's like don't want to drag the show out because we've got everything discussed in less than an hour or so. Watch the show. Seriously, go back and watch this show. If you haven't, go watch it. I have just found out that at WrestlePro,
apparently Aries is unhappy the fact that all the pre-show content, that's on YouTube for WrestleMania, isn't on the DVD.
it is not.
So positive thing, no fucking Mojo. Negative thing, no cruiserweights.
So yeah, we had a WrestlePro show tonight apparently in Rahway.
Also, apparently, there's going to be a behind-the-scenes look at New Day hosting Mania, which will be on the network on Tuesday, I guess, after Talking Smack and 205 Live. Actually, no, it's going to be on the in-demand section, so it's not even going to be broadcast. That's how good that is.
So yes, as we speak right now, actually it might just have ended. We just had a WrestlePro show in Rahway, New Jersey that was main evented by Cody Rhodes versus Joey Janela.
As long as Sammy wasn't involved.
Mario Bakar versus Dan Moff, Moose versus KM, Cole Cabana versus Alex Reynolds, Fallah Bob versus Bobby Fish. That's a very weird match. So yeah, I think that's our show.
Just in time, it's 4:20. Whee!
So once again, I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. If you haven't yet, go check out our United Kingdom Championship special podcast we did last night. That was a fun show. And tomorrow we'll be back right after the show is over for Backlash. I will say that possibly due to circumstance, we may get started late. So if we are a little bit late starting or even a lot late starting, don't worry, we'll still be starting up. It's just I have to take care of something first. So fingers crossed. So yeah,
secretly he's going to be getting on a plane to Chicago to actually go to the show.
Yes.
And then as soon as he's seen the Nakamura Ziggler match, which by his luck will be the first match on the card, he'll just go right and then walk out and it's like give a ticket to somebody else and go, do you want to watch the rest of it? Because I don't.
So that's your show. Ashley, where can we find you on social media?
I'm on Twitter at AshIsMyNameUK. I'm trying to give you a tease as to what's coming up, but I can't remember what the sort of plan was in terms of what I'm talking about. It's going to get hazy like this, even though it was anyway before, but the more and more closer we go to E3, the more it's going to be, yeah, there's too much news happening. But, there'll be something, probably.
So follow along with the network on Twitter at Popcast Network. Check out our Facebook fan page at Popcast Network, Zazzle merch at Popcast Network, and our our Patreon at Popcast Network. Quick programming note. tomorrow is going to be AJ's movie reviews of Alien Covenant. That's going to be the edited version. Yes, there is an edited version. A full version will be up in the weeks to come. Stay tuned for more information on that. And a brand new version coming at you on Sunday. Tomorrow,
are we doing this because of the fact that, you know, bloody Ridley Scott likes to do God knows how many bloody cuts for his movies?
Nope, nothing at all to do with that.
Okay.
So yeah, that's going to be coming up in the new versus wrestling fans backlash tomorrow night after the show is over. We'll go live. Raw Monday night right after the show's over. We'll go live. Back here Wednesday, 9 p.m. For the Wednesday Wrestling Popcast, talking SmackDown, 205 Live, NXT, What Culture Pro Wrestling, UFC, Ring of Honor, New Japan Pro Wrestling, talk about Super Juniors, and so much more. That's going to be discussed on Wednesday. Thursday, back here for Sip and Snack Friday, back with AJ's television reviews of the newest episode of Fargo, AJ's movie reviews on Saturday, and Versus on Sunday. So, yes, that's going to kick us into the month of June. So, it's the week of June 1st. So, yeah, there's that. So that being said, once again, I want to thank Jeremy Mills for joining us in chat. Thanks to Logan Burton. Thanks Timbo. Yeah, you can follow Logan on Twitter at LoganBurton10 and Pedro at Evil Takes Root. And check out links to the YouTube channels. Acer, always where you can find the podcast you should be listening to, Wrestling and or Otherwise, at Acer1337. Yes in a row on Twitter and his YouTube channel, Acer5000. So thanks to everyone for watching and listening tonight. And as always, in a world where there are a billion wrestling podcasts, we're very pleased that once more tonight you've chosen the Popcast. I want to thank everyone for watching. Thanks everyone for listening. Wish me good luck tomorrow, everyone. And until tomorrow, boys and girls, that's all we got to say about that.
I guess we made the cock up last night. It wasn't Dan. It was actually done. 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 Done.